Hi, I'm Daniel Craigie, and today I'll be talking about the desegregation busing movement of the 1970s. It all began in 1954 with the Brown versus Board of Education that ruled that separate but equal was inherently unequal. While this helped create a lot of social reform to end segregation, it also became very ineffective in a lot of areas, one of which was the school districts, which remained largely segregated between black and white. In response to this, Swan versus Charlotte Mecklenburg Board of Education ruled that will be provided to force bus black students to attend white schools and white students to attend black schools. This act became very unpopular for both blacks and whites, and as a result, riots began breaking out. People began moving so that they could attend different school districts, and for those who could afford it, they began sending their children to private schools. Here with me today is my father, Keith Craigie, to discuss his experience with the desegregation busing movement of the 1970s. Just to start out with, do you have any background info, like where and when this took place for you?
So I was in eighth grade when the ruling came down from the federal judge, Judge Batista, that Cleveland school system, which is where I was from, was in Cleveland, had to go through forced busing. So we lived on the white western side of Cleveland, and they were going to now force the children to be bused over to the whites to the eastern side and the blacks to the western side to integrate them. The first step in that they took when I was in ninth grade was they started by busing the teachers. That's right, they literally forced black teachers who taught on the east side of Cleveland to have to now teach white students on the west side of Cleveland. Um, there were two subjects that affected for me, um, typing and biology. The plan was is that then the following year they were going to take and start to bus the children. Now, in my situation, I had my youngest sister was going into second grade, so she was like 7 years old, and she was going to be bused roughly 30 to 45 minutes away. My mom actually went to go and see the school that my sister was going to be bused to, found that school to be run down. She said that the bathrooms were in the basement, and she said, "There's no way I'm going to let my 7 year old get on a bus to go over to an area that's just not safe." And so my parents elected to sell our house and move, which we did, out to a farther suburb west to the west and escape the busing.
Wow. So you don't think this helped the desegregation movement at all?
Um, no, I don't think it helped at all, because what happened was is that anybody who had any money, whether you were black or white, you left. You didn't want your children going through this. In many cases, it wasn't safe. Parents were concerned about their children. To show you how ridiculous the whole problem, the program was, when they were busing the teachers, I had my biology teacher. He didn't want to be there. My typing teacher seemed to make most out of it, but the biology teacher was like, I don't want to be there. So what he would do is he would just give us a sixth grade handout to fill out. It took about 5 minutes, and then we were on our own. We played games the rest of the time. I mean, literally, we brought games into the classroom and played them for most of the class period because he only gave us 5 minutes of work. And I was one of the better students in it. So to me, that was really sad.
Is there any benefits for the black people? Is there any specific examples that you found that would benefit?
No, I don't really see any that would have benefited it. In fact, I think that there was a lot of ways that it hurt them. There were some great efforts that were going underway in Cleveland to help with integration. For example, when I was in junior high school, I was involved in an all city junior high choir. That choir was made up of children from all over the city of Cleveland. We met downtown, and it was a very racially diverse group of kids. I got to know a lot of those kids and considered some kids that were black to be my friends. It was a great thing. Um, after they started the forced busing, they didn't have the funds anymore to support those kind of extracurricular activities, and so they went and they canceled it. They killed one of the actually programs that were allowing for the kids to integrate in favor of just making children get on these buses, waste all this time, all this gasoline, and be bused to schools they didn't want to be at. So I don't think it accomplished anything. People who had money eventually left, and all you basically had was the poor people, which were mainly black, left in the city of Cleveland. If you look at the city of Cleveland today, it's about half the size it used to be when I was in school.
Huh. Do you think there is an alternative to health desegregation?
Oh yeah, I think that what they could have done is that they could have um, they could have instead they could have made the programs like the All City Junior High Choir. They could have increased those. They could have had more of those. They could have had them for band, or they could have had them for track, or whatever the case would be. They could have done something that would have, in the end, been more bringing them together in extracurricular activities. I think you would improve the race relationships a whole lot more with that than by forcing people to do something against their will. I mean, who wants to send their child to not to their neighborhood school, but to go somewhere across town? It was just ridiculous.
Yeah. Do you have any closing thoughts or stories?
One of the interesting things that I found, and shows you how stupid the whole program um, was a friend of mine. His name was Gary. He was a black child on the white that was in this white district. Well, because you just can't pick on the white kids to go bus them to the black school, he had to be bused too. So here you were busing a black kid to the black schools um, as well. Well, the problem is that Gary had been born and raised in the white neighborhoods, and so culturally he was more like the white kids. So when he went over to the black schools, he didn't fit any more than the white kids did. And as a result, the black kids that were there picked on him. I think they threatened his life, and he decided to drop out. So he never finished high school. How sad is that? He didn't benefit from it. Actually, he was a lot worse. I don't really know that it benefited any of the kids. It tended to increase. It tended to cause the race relations to be worse, and as I said, it caused the flight of the people who were more affluent to try to get out of the city. And other than the barking, we were okay.